and it also has a curative element. So today we have with us Dr. Urmila from Coimbatore, who is going to give the introductory overview, and then the panelists can all come in. So here we go. Dr. Urmila, please take over.
Namaste ji. A very good morning and good evening to one and all. Today with divine blessings, I am at Rishikesh. I have been honored Yogini Award and the venue Paramat Niketan from Swami Chinananda Saraswati ji. So with the blessings of Guru, let me start with the presentation. Thank you. Let me share you my screen.
Oh, 1 second. There you go. Ahead. You can share now.
Okay. Is my screen visible?
Perfect.
Thank you. So first and foremost, I wholeheartedly thank CYAI International, Dr. Rajan Narayanan ji and all the committee members for giving me this esteemed opportunity to share my insight on the topic renewing vitality by finding your inner sun. Asmat Gurubhyo Namaha. So let's understand from the topic by itself, what is sun? Is it going to be internal or external? And what is renewal? Is it going to be active, inactive, or dead? And that vitality related to the renewal part of the energy. So to understand, first sun. So what is its origination and importance and connectivity? So the reference to the origination of sun is given in Vedas of Purusha Shuktam, which is considered to be the ultimate or best among Shuktams, since all 4 Vedas have it. So the below Shuktam is taken from Krishna Yajur Veda. Chandrama Manaso Jatah, Chaksho Suryo Jayata, Mukha Sindrat Agnischa, Prana Vayu Rajayata. So Purusha in the Shuktam is described as the gigantic personality who is spread everywhere. And Brahma, the creator, is supposed to have his huge body out of which the creation has been born. So the creator, from the creator, the Purusha mind was born moon. From his eyes was born sun. So I repeat, from his eyes was born sun. So the origination reference given here is the eyes. From his face was born Indra and Agni. And from his prana, the soul, was born the air. We also see another reference, sun as prana. From Prasnopanishad, which is embedded inside Atharva Veda, ascribed to sage Pipalata. It is the Mukhya Upanishad, called primary Upanishad. There are 6 questions put from 6 disciples to the sage, where the first question talks about the creation of universe and the sustaining power of existence, by which the universe is projected from Prajapati and again it's withdrawn back to unto him. So Aditya Havai Prano, Raireva Chandrama, Rair Va Etat Sarvam Yan Murtam, Cha Murtam, Cha Tasman Murtam Eva Rai. So the sun is prana. Life and the moon is Rai. That is the matter, food. Yet the truly all this universe is formed and formless is matter, therefore both is one. So the Rai, the matter is present everywhere. But who gives the energy or who gives life to that matter is the light which comes from sun and gives life to all matter. So the prana is the fire, here resembles the sun that rises every day. So even we find reference from the Rig Veda mantra. So the wise knows him, that all pervading, all illuminating, all knowing, the one upholder of all, and say that he rises the sun, that he may warm everything, go into everything in its a particular life. So as we see in the origination, What is its importance and connectivity? So from Vedas, Puranas, Idikashas, the bodily shape, the rupam given for sun is eyes. So in a body, head is the most important because it stores brain. Next to brain, the eyes. And both are located in the siras, the head. Now, the author Vatar places the Grantha, Tirupavai, Andal's Tirupavai, which is the essence of Veda, in Mangala Sasanam as a prayer hymn to the head of Vedas. Why? Because Jnanendriyam comes from intellect as its connectivity is head. Shruti Siram. Now in Jyotish, that is Jyotish means to make one know. And Angam, branch of Vedas, sun has given the position of eyes to enlighten everyone about their past karma as per their horoscope, Kundali. And because it is attached with Atma through senses. So having references and importance of sun, what is now internal sun? Sri Parasara has given different karakatvas, the significance for the planets in the horoscope. Out of all planets, sun is given the important position of Atma, the soul. We know from literatures that sun, the importance of sun for any activity is given to succeed, that Atma must want and wish for the same. How do we do it is the question. Yo devah savita asmakam diyo dharmati gocharaha prerayat tasya yat bargatat varenyam upasmahe. So we meditate on the excellent light of Deva called Savita to direct our intellect towards the ways of Dharma. So this is how we need to get the Atma towards our Dharma, path of Dharma by the direction of the intellect. So the Savita Gayatri is given in Tamil by Mahakavi Subramanya Bharadiyar. செங்கதிர் தேவன் சிறந்த ஒளியினை தேர்கின்றோம் அவன் எங்கள் அறிவினை தூண்டி நடத்த வேண்டும். So now we know, for sun we saw the eyes, the Atma, the Prana, and now we need to energize our Atma. We have to strengthen our Atma Balam. Why we have to strengthen? We will see. So here in this reference, then again we go back to the literature. Agastya Maharishi, his guru, Subramanya is the guru of sage Agastya. And even for sage Agastya, he has to make strength of his balam, make his Atma balam from his guru. That is why we have this Guru Sishya Parampara from our ancient culture. So by that, you could see the left top hand, Lord Subramanya is giving wisdom as jnana to the Maharishi Agastya, and he has compiled Subramanya Jnanam 500 book. Similarly, the Hayagriva towards the right, top right, you could see he is giving the importance of Lalita Devi to the sage Agastya. So as he has gained this Atma Balam, now he gives to the world Aritradiyam to increase Atma Balam of Rama during the battlefield with Ravana. So we see even our sages, rishis, munis have to increase their Atma Balam, and they have to provide the ways of Dharma for even to Rama. Now, another example from our literature is in the form of Varaha, the bear, the Jambavan, gives or convinces the Hanuman about his capabilities that he could jump over the ocean and reach the Lanka and Ramayana in search of Sita Devi. Now, again in Mahabharata, if you take before the Kurukshetra war begin, Arjuna loses his motivation and puts down his Gandiva, the divine bow, refusing to fight. It is Sri Krishna who reveals himself as Vishnu Avatar and encourages Arjuna to carry out his duty as Kshatriya. So in all these references, we see the Atma Balam is how important, and Guru is always required to increase or improve our Atma Balam. Now, this is what our science also speaks. So when we actually exposed to sunlight, the rays of the sun passes through our ganglion of eyes through retina, and that it activates our suprachiasmatic nucleus, which is present as known as master clock and present in the anterior portion of hypothalamus in the brain, and directs stimulates hormone to all organs of our body. So in the morning, what happens? The serotonin hormone is associated to boost mood and help to feel calm and focused. And at the sunset, what happens? The brain triggers the melatonin hormone, and that hormone is responsible for helping in sleep and regenerating the cells. And this helps in all our physiological and behavioral functions, actions and functions. So this is proved through research, and which is called as a biological clock or the circadian rhythm. Now, having understood the importance, connectivity, and how to increase it, and from reference from literature to science. Now, having this strength, and what we are going to do, because we are already born with it, we are increasing it, but we need to renew it. What are we going to renew? In renewal means punaradana, which is replacing or renewing a consecrated or a sacred fire, which is the brain we give more importance, and that is the mind which speaks about the unsteady mind. So Patanjali Yoga Sutra in Samadhi Pada and Vibhuti Pada gives an example to how an unsteady mind would behave on its ultimate. So Anubhuta Vishaya Asam Pramoksha Smriti. So memory is the retention of all the experienced objects, because vrittis are formed from our memories. That is an important category. Why we have all the vrittis? We know pramana, viparyaya, vikalpa, nidra, smriti. So all these leads to klesha, avidya. Therefore, we need to identify the memory which has a pattern, and that pattern will be positive or negative. And we need to learn to identify and stop mind from oscillations. And in Vibhuti Pada, Dhyanopani Mantrane Sangasmyakaranam Punaranishta Prasangat. So he says, on achieving the great powers brings two possible obstacles. What are those? For permanent ananda, the thought of utilizing them and the pride in having them. So the Ashtama Siddhi, which one gains, it stops our practice leading till Samadhi. Therefore, how should an unsteady mind should be? Yato yato nischaranti manaschanchalam mastiram tatastato niyam yetad atmaneva vasham nayet. So whatever the mind wanders due to some flickering or whatever the unsteadiness, one must certainly withdraw it and bring back under the control of the self. And this is the highest perfection of yoga. So renewal is renewing the mind so that we understand the Atma Balam. Is it easy? Definitely no. And for that, how to overcome the unsteady mind? So we are referring again to Adi Shankaracharya's Grantha, Tattva Bodham. He has given us Sat Sampati, 6 ethical values which brings the mind under control of senses. The first is Sama, that is peace, calming the mind, focusing on a particular job taken on hand. So for this, we need to be away from our 6 enemies: Kama, Krodha, Moha, Lobha, Mada, Matsarya. And also the 6 kinds of pain we undergo: hunger, thirst, grief, passion, old age, and death. Next, he says about Uparati, carrying out one's own Anushtanam, so daily activities using the Dharmic way. Titiksha, being patient. So always have the capacity to bear the anxiety and afflictions. Nirdvantam, Bhagavad Gita says, Nirdvantam. Take everything on a equal manner. Happy and sorrow, heat and cold, success and failure. Whatever you take, you should be in Nirdvantam stage. And Shraddha, have great confidence and acceptance of truth of scriptures. Swadhyaya Ishvara Pranidhana. That is in Guru's words and intellectual. Let us tell a story. There was a person who is in search of a guru. He came across in search of guru to Gangama river. He saw a sadhu who was sitting and he was making a strong tapas. The sadhu opened his eyes and he saw this person and he said, "Will you able to show me God?" He said, sadhu said, "Yes." "Have you seen the God?" he asked. He said, "Yes." "Can you show me?" He said again, "Yes." "So before I show you the God, come, let's go have a dip in the Ganga." They both went to Ganga and then taking a dip, and immediately within few seconds, the sage puts his hand over his neck and then he hold him tight. He could not breathe and he's suffocating the person. Suddenly he says, it goes rage and wild and he's shouting, "Can't breathe, leave me, save me, save me." And suddenly after a few moments, sage releases his hand and he gets even a kick out of his range of the person who is of ignorance, and still the sage with his beautiful smile He says you will be coming back to me. But you need to first stop your mind wavering and you will come back to me. And after some while, the person came back and is asked, even though I fit, why were you smiling? Why did you do that? He said, you are not fit for the sadhana. You are not fit to see the God. Because even at that moment, you were able to search of your breath, not the search of the God. You didn't have that intention to see God. So you should have trust to whoever you go, to the sage, to the guru, with the full confidence and trust, Shraddha and Shaburi, so that you accept him fully and you will see the enlightenment within you. So samadhanam. Next, our ethical value, samadhanam. Concentration of mind on taken job in hand. So chitta ekagrata, which means you need one-pointed focus. Dhamma, self-control, which means the pratyahara, you withdrawal of intellect and senses and from Vishaya object. So we know that we have to renew our unsteady mind, and how to overcome the vitality is doing the 6 ethical values. Is it fine that we understood the 6 ethical values and we are going to overcome it? Still, the answer is no. So what should we do? We need to sustain, right? By practice. How do we sustain? By practice. So now it's Patanjali Yoga Sutra speaks about Abhyasa Vairagya Vyam Tannirodha. So the mental modifications, whatever is restrained, should be by practice and non-attachment. And this practice should be help to maintain the cessation of thought. Tatrastinau yato vyasah. And how this practice should be? Sato Dirghakala Nairantarya Satkara Sevito Drida Bhumiki. Without break, without interruption, with devotion, becomes firm in foundation. That's how a practice should be. So that is what you need to renew, and your vitality should be of, overcome that, and you need to sustain that vitality. Now, what science speaks about it? Is it enough that you maintain your sustain, the unsteady mind to renew? Is it sufficient? Otherwise, only the mind will be hanging everywhere. But we have a tool, that is the body. So the body has to be steady. Sthiram Sugam Hasanam. So the body has to be steady in order to have that kind of unsteady mind to tune that or tame the unsteady mind. So Rasayana concept of Ayurveda explains the tissue regeneration and cells renewal. In reality, every cell in our body knows with perfection and precision how to renew itself. And example, you take certain type of cells like stomach, lining, skin, red blood corpuscles, everything renew by themselves very quickly, but it's only a matter of duration. How many weeks? So for an example, the truth is the cell mitosis, cell division occurs to renew and repair from 11 p.m. to midnight by shedding the dead skin cells, subsequently replacing them with younger cells. That's why we need to understand how bodily recovering happens every time on its own. So that's a beautiful creation of the Brahma, creator. So we have to renew our life partner. So when we say renewal, do you mean the real actual partner who is physically present with us? No, it's a partner within the cell. So lungs, mind, body, heart, intestine, soul, and all these are for Parobhagarartham idam shariram. So pranayama for lungs, meditation for mind, yogasana for body, walking for heart, good food, the sattvic food, palatable food for intestine, good thoughts for soul, and good karma for the world. So all these renewal helps to energize your body. And how to energize your body? And only through achara, vichara, ahara, vihara, vyavahara. Yuktahara viharasya, yuktacheshtasya karmasu, yuktaswapnava bodhasya, yogo bhavati dukkha. So one suffering could be completely relieved only when who is regulated in diet, recreation, regulated in performing actions, and regulated in sleeping and waking. So regulation means the quality of being regular. It's actually to have a better quality of life as we all age. So regularity is one of the most crucial detox channels for human body. So we have our Hatha Yoga Pratipika text and the Samhita, all our literature speaks about the Shakriyas. So the Kriyas like Kapala Bhati, Neti, Trataka, Basti, Nauli, Dauti, all these 6 Kriyas helps us to detox our channels so that it absorbs new cells are regenerated, which helps to sustain our body with a healthy body so that the unsteady mind becomes so healthy by practicing the ethical values. So regularity should be again not just only for mind, body too. Satu Dikakala Nairantarya Satkara Sevito Grida Bhumiki should be for continued long time without break and with devotion, become firm and foundation. Otherwise, Manayeva Manushyanam Karanam Bandhamokshayoho Bandaya Vishya Shaktam Muktya Nirvishayam Smritam. Mind is the only cause for taking birth in this planet or to get liberation. One should not turn to attention to their sense object. So always we need to understand the goal for attaining self-realization is yoga chitta vritti nirodha. So always tend to be very regular in your habit and practice the two in long duration without interruption for both body and mind with all the ethical values to strengthen your atma, the soul, so that it leads to the way of dharma. So I thank once again in conclusion. The gist of the topic has been explained from literature to science, and I wholeheartedly thank CYAI International. Asmat Gurubhyo Namah. Thank you, one and all.
Thank you so much. So now we can go to questions, or Stomaji, would you like to add anything?
Not a great deal. I thought just to mention that there are a couple of other disciplines within yoga that have to do with this concept of an inner sun that is equivalent to prana. Prana is actually a very interesting concept if you start to look into it. If you look into the classical Sankhya philosophy, for example, because it is inherently dualistic, there's no category for prana in the classical Sankhya. The reason is that while it is a material energy at a certain level, it is also conscious at a certain level. And so it's one of those things that is part Purusha, part Prakriti, and that makes it very difficult for classical Sankhya to talk about it. And so they don't, basically. And one of the reasons for that is that Sankhya is the level of experience that has to do with what we can know through the senses and the mind. And that conscious energy is something that takes us beyond the mind. There are in the yoga, in our parampara, two disciplines that talk about the inner functioning of that inner sun. One of them is actually called the Surya Vijnana, the solar science. This is the science that was revealed to Arjuna by Krishna in chapter 11 of Bhagavad Gita. That in our tradition is considered to be the second highest initiation that can be given. And it is equivalent to the initiations that are described, for example, in the Christian Bible, Moses and the burning bush, Paul on the road to Damascus. Those are both examples of Surya Vijnana initiations with different metaphors and different cultural overlays to them. And so as you were saying, Dr. Urmila, you have to be able to clear and steady your mind in order to be able to experience that impact of the sun all at once. So most of the time with our slightly disturbed minds, we have to do it a step at a time, through the practices of yoga. The other science that bears on this is the science of rhythms and prana called Swara Yoga. Both of these are sciences that are primarily kept in an oral tradition. There are very few texts about them, and the texts that exist are very sketchy. And there's a reason for that. I mean, it's something that was meant to be taught person to person. And that tradition is very carefully guarded within the parampara, and only really revealed in its entirety to people whose minds have been steadied in the way that you describe. And so all of our practices of pranayama are things that lead up to, of course, the ability for the mind to become stable and clear and capable of experiencing that great and wonderful light from within that is so healing. This is even made reference to in Amit Gupta's wonderful book, The Quantum Doctor, where he talks about
You're thinking of Amit Goswami, right?
Goswami, right? Yeah,
Yeah.
that's Goswami. I stand corrected. And this book, The Quantum Doctor, is wonderful because it talks about how all of the systems of medicine collaborate because they work at different levels in the personality. And one of those levels is the level of what Deepak Chopra has come to call quantum healing, which is basically the ability to access the level of Atman in whatever way. And that's what's responsible, for example, for some of the incidences that we see of spontaneous remission of cancer, for example. Chopra tells this great story about a lady who came to see him with terrible abdominal pain. And he did a physical examination, and the indications of the physical examination were showing the likelihood of gallbladder disease. And so he referred her to a general surgeon, and the surgeon did the surgery. And as soon as they opened up her abdomen, it was very clear that she had tumors all over the place. And so they just closed her up again and took her to the recovery room. And when she recovered, Chopra met her there and somehow had the intuition not to say to her that she was full of cancer, but he just said, "I have good news for you. It wasn't your gallbladder." And that's all he said. So the lady, recovered from the anesthesia, was sent home with the expectation on the part of her medical team that she would perish within a week. They thought she had 6 or 7 days at most left. She came back to the clinic a month later looking pretty healthy, and everybody was totally shocked. And so Chopra took her aside and said, "Gosh, you're looking so well today. Well, what's happened in the last month?" And so she said to him, "Dr. Chopra, when I came in to see you with that abdominal pain the other day, actually, I was afraid I was full of cancer. And when you told me it wasn't my gallbladder, that seemed to make everything heal up." Somehow, his relationship with her helped her to gain access to that quantum level of healing. And they did some tests to see if there were any evidence of tumor anywhere in her body. Totally gone. All gone. Total remission. And I think that from a sort of practical medical perspective, that really underscores the importance of the relationship, the importance of a physician or any kind of healer to be able to form a relationship with people that has a kind of selfless love to it, that helps to create that connection with a level of quantum healing. So thank you.
Sanjeev, do you want to add anything?
Yeah, it was wonderful to hear Dr. Urmila. I would like to say one thing is in our day-to-day common aspects of life, as we all know, our body is continuously emitting energy because we have a bioorganic magnetic system. And how we prevail in our day-to-day life, in our thoughts, words, actions, is what generates the energy. See, we construct dam to conserve the energy to be diverted to good form of electricity, agriculture, irrigation. Likewise, we have immense of energy in the body, and this energy has to be diverted in the right formula for that simple disciplines of, we call it as physical discipline, verbal discipline, sensory discipline, and mental discipline. In a single way, if we understand, physical discipline is how well we use our body in the right manner by generating the heat, unwantedly not using the body for the thing where we can dissipate the energy. So this can conserve the energy on a physical level. Also the food, the nutrition, as we have been discussing, also enhances the physical energy to the optimum, which is very important to be understood so that the physical energy is not dissipated in any form. Second is verbal energy. Whenever we are communicating, we communicate when it's really required. Otherwise, unwantedly wasting our energy is also to be taken care of. So verbal discipline plays a very major role because it's again dissipation of energy. And third is called sensory discipline. Our jnana indriyas, the five senses, is having infiniteness in its expressions. So unless and until we conserve that, today if you see sensory discipline, we should not take all the data which we see. In fact, select what we want to see. Otherwise, our brain becomes like a public toilet, So we need to conserve and see what is really required to see. So that brings in a sense of sensory discipline. And of course, mental discipline comes whenever we do things in the right time, right manner. So we don't have any strain on mentally or nervousness or agitations within. So these forms of four disciplines can conserve the heat in the body, and which I feel is very, very on a common understanding. It can help us. This conservation of energy is our energy because we don't have extra batteries or anything from charge. We generate our own heat energy. And as Dr. Urmila said, Hiran Mayena Patrena, oh son, you are like a golden vessel. Satyasthyapita Mukham, you are the embodiment of truth. Tattvam Pusam Aparna Satya, whenever imbalances or ignorances befalls me, Dharmaye Drishti. And with this simple pattern in the early morning, if we look at the sun and pray, all these things, I feel this energy called the Surya within us will manifest. Even sun salutation, we say, actually, it's not the external sun, it is the internal sun that we are actually addressing. And that's why all the mantras in the sun salutation is addressed to different points in the chakras that generates the heat energy. So altogether, if you saw, the sun within us is what we are saluting, we are respecting. And that conservation of energy is what helps us to dissipate in the right manner, in the right discipline, in the right form. Thereby, we can enjoy the beautiful moments of our life. We all have come for a holiday. Return ticket is guaranteed. But let us enjoy the holidays beautifully, the fantastic energy in all of us. Thank you.
Namaste. Thank you, Sanjeev ji. Actually, if I can summarize in fewer words, what we have heard is Dr. Urmila mentioned first aspect is sun is the source of energy. Second aspect is unless you can be calm, you cannot conserve your energy, so you are not efficient in utilizing, and that's what allows you to be who you are, to attain your higher nature and all of that, right? The third point that came along, that came from Stomaji, probably alludes to the Sankhya Sutra. In the Sankhya Sutra, everything in creation is as a result of tamas. It is the sentient intellect that is the rajas, which allows you to go and inquire beyond. So the thing is basically, to that degree, how he explained the concept of prana and sun that you saw over there. There is one other element, which is a very important element that should be understood correctly. That other element is the concept of invocation. The concept of invocation is like the way in which Dr. Urmila explained it was the grace of the Guru and things like that. And as you know from the Yoga Sutra, we look upon Ishvara as the Guru of everyone at all times. But the power of invocation has the ability whereby you can tune into that particular chitta, purified chitta, higher level chitta, that can give you their vibration and their ability to go forward. So these are the four important elements that came there. There is one other thing that I would like to mention. Even though Dr. Urmila went in detail about what Shankaracharya said about, not being affected by the 6 vices, all of these things, the key element of it, remember, is that given, as the Yoga Sutra explains to us, that given we are born as a result of all the programmed entities, and one of the program element is avidya, not realizing what is the nature of existence. And as sentient being, we are connected both into Prakriti as well as Purusha. So by quietening the effect of Prakriti on you, that is when you get a momentary connection into the Purusha, and that's where when you inquire, you start learning the higher elements of nature of existence. And slowly, as that Atma Vidya expands, you become less and less reactive to whatever is hitting you. So this is the idea of how they all fit together. So I thought I'll share the summary thoughts that came from everyone. So now we are open for questions. If anybody wants to ask any questions, go ahead. And I can see Dr. Urmila's connectivity may be an issue. She keeps going in and out. So
Sorry, Rishikesh, there was some technical glitch. I'm using my mobile data connectivity, not
no
Wi-Fi.
problem, no problem. All good. So any questions, or if anybody else would like to contribute, feel free to unmute and speak up. Okay, in that case, I'll take another step further. If we look at most of our yoga practices that we work with, remember, one of the important things that Dr. Urmila spoke about is the concept of when your energy is aligned, then in which case, that's when you're in the path of your swadharma. You're not wasting anything. That was one of her implications of what she was mentioning. So in any regular yoga practice that we do, and all of you have seen this, our main focus is on balancing the energy within. Quieten the wastage of energy by quietening the mind. The second thing that we focus on is stimulating the spine, the central nervous system, and proper pranayama practices to energize. So this is how we can understand the relationship with any regular yoga practice we do, particularly the yoga practice that many of you have, experience with what we do morning and evening. And so I just thought I will add that. The main focus of yoga practice is to energize. Yes, Tammy, go ahead.
Can you explain, or someone, that like invocation versus intention? How do those get?
Intention, but any starting point of invocation is an intention. But the intention of invocation is different from other kinds of intentions. The intention of invocation is to connect into a being that is purer, higher than our being, so that we can experience, as long as we keep them invoked within us, that purity of that being we can experience within us. And this is the reason that in many traditions, they invoke the guru concept. But in fact, the guru that they talk of is not the guru of the Yoga Sutras. The Yoga Sutra guru is the Ishvara. But commonly when Dr. Urmila was talking, her concept of guru is an exalted soul. And Ishvara is beyond all exalted souls, is the unmanifest beyond name and form. So the thing is, basically, you can only invoke a spirit. You cannot invoke God. You can only connect with God. So that is where that concept of this thing, and this is explained in the first chapter of the Yoga Sutra. The place where it says Vitaraga Chitteva, kind of what it talks about is simply by thinking of a chitta or a created being, a spirit that is bereft of desires and attachments, then in which case that is the nature of a purer spirit. You can attain the higher, you can go into a higher meditative state.
So does it use energy for, like, can we carry that around? I understand the concept of this, right? So do we carry that how long does it cost energy to carry that invocation, I guess, is what I'm saying. And then
the answer is the following. You can use invocation as a way to steady your mind, and so that it doesn't run everywhere, and to get a grip on your good meditative state. And why is that important? And that meditative state, you inquire into the nature of existence. You seek the Atma Vidya. So as the Atma Vidya expands in you and goes into a sufficient level, at that point in time, if you latch on to invocation of any spirit, you will not be able to go further. And this is where the part is for us eventually to be bereft of all these forms and all the spirits and directly go into the unmanifest, connect into Ishvara. So this this is where I believe people have stated that in Buddhism, that apparently Buddha is supposed to have stated, if you meet the Buddha in your meditation, slay the Buddha, otherwise you cannot proceed further, because you are in the land of spirits as opposed to going beyond into the Ishvara level, right?
What is the meaning of invocation?
Okay. Do you like your wife?
Yes.
Just think of her as within you. You have invoked your wife.
Okay. So invoking the God within you?
Invoking any form within you, any spirit within you, all of that is invocation.
Thank you. Thank you.
Well, I guess this topic has left no more questions for people.
I would like to add, Dr.
Go
Rajan.
ahead, Mr. Ravishankar.
Yeah, with your kind permission. First of all, thank you so much, Dr. Urbila. I missed the initial introduction actually, so I don't know what is your background. Are you a medical doctor or PhD? But it was really well presented in a very, very short time, the essence of sun actually, because I can vouch for it, at the age of, you can say, just 2 years back, around 57, I have completed my bachelor's degree, from an UK university. And what I was doing actually, because I wanted energy, and that was a Corona time. Every day I was going to to walk and then see the sun and chant the Gayatri mantra, which is basically, I think it's all related there. And it really helped me to, pass that degree with a very, very good score. The other thing is that I'm quite amazed that, all these, the teachings, what you say, whether it is a Rig Veda, with Upanishad, and then Agastya Muni, I have to today Google search and find out. I have heard the name, but I don't know much. But of course, Shankaracharya, Lord Krishna Gita, I don't find, and Patanjali Yoga Sutra, I don't find any conflict, because these are all in very, very different ages. I don't know, means the gaps of maybe 2000, 3000, maybe more than that years. But the basic essence is same, that, the principles, for example, you have to follow ethical values to progress in the spiritual world. Means the 6 ethical values, what you highlighted, Dr. Urmila, means we cannot deny that one, because if you don't follow any of them, okay, maybe you are following 5 of them and you say that, okay, can I take an excuse for one? So it's like a ship which has got a hole, because if there is even a small hole, the ship cannot float. So thank you so much, and Guruji also for that 4 levels, body, mind, and spirit. Certain things I am practicing these things every day, that see, even the yoga meditation, you can't do it all the time. At one time, you will have to withdraw, do your normal work. So the concentration, being creative to pursue something, the self-studies, maybe if your mind is still not coming to control, maybe do some research work, go into deeper studies, what you like to do. So these are some of the things, like you will have to supplement with whatever you are following. If you think that, okay, you are not making the right progress. This is what I have to add here. Thank you.
Thank you, Raviji. Thank you so much for your words. It's so humble. Myself, I'm basically professionally a computer science engineer, and with divine blessings received a doctorate of philosophy in Vedic yoga.
Oh,
so with
you
that,
you are very much advanced.
So it is because of my guru, whose name is Dr. K.V. Krishnanji, who is a Vedic scholar and is in a PhD in astro science. And therefore, with his wisdom, he's 73 plus years old, with his wisdom of his experience and knowledge, whatever he has experienced throughout his life, and from his guru, from Ahobila Mutt, I have gained such a knowledge through him. For each of my presentations where I connect with science and literature, where It gives an, research always proves what Vedas said, but Veda is received by the intuition by rishis and munis, whatever they've received. Therefore, I would samarpanam to my guru, and all the blessings, whatever I have received, it's to him. And really thank, for enlightening me, and really thanks CYAI Narayananji for giving me this beautiful opportunity. And I wish in many such forums, I would like to take many more presentations. And I also like to gain more knowledge and also present it to the world.
Thank you, Dr. Urmila. Dr. Rajan and Guruji, maybe one of you, that why there is no conflict in the teachings of different ages? What's the reason?
What is why there is no conflict in different what?
The teachings like Vedas, or whether it is Gita, or whether it is Patanjali Yoga, like the basic essence is same. Maybe the
actually that is also the true across any religion. The key part is the core spirituality of any tradition that seeks spirituality is expressed in the Yoga Sutras. And the interesting aspect about if you understand how Vyasa compiled the Vedas, and if you understand the chronology of the Indian philosophies, the Vyasa comes among the 6 ancient philosophies. Vyasa's philosophy is the last chronologically. Sankhya philosophy is the oldest. And yoga philosophy is just before the Vedanta philosophy. And if you understand the philosophical chronological flow and the place of Vyasa, Vyasa was in a very unusual situation. Actually, some of you might have heard of the name of the person, what is his name? Munshi, K.M. Munshi, the person who established Bharati Vidya Bhavan, right? Some of you have heard of the name. Now, he has written an 8-volume book called Krishna. And in that 8-volume book on Krishna, he writes something very unusual about the life of Vyasa. And that gives you a clue into why you don't find conflicts anywhere. You see, what happened is, K.M. Munshi writes that, Vyasa's biological father was the great sage Parashara. And apparently, Parashara used to be, in those days, it was the Saraswati River. And those of you know what is known in the last few decades is the Saraswati River actually used to flow from a place called, coming from the same Himalayan source, at a place called Shatarana in Punjab, where it got moved away and most of the water went to the Sindhu Nadi, that is the Indus, and some of it to the Yamuna. At that time, the main river from Shatarana used to flow through the Thar desert in Rajasthan and come through the Ahmedabad area and end in Gujarat, in the place called Somnath. That used to be the path of the Saraswati River. So, and that is the area where the Vedic civilization grew. And the interesting part was that according to K.M. Munshi, this Parashara Muni used to go up and down the river, Saraswati River, to make sure people were all doing yajna the same way to standardize it. And remember, this is the time when probably the written language was emerging. And prior to that, all the Vedic hymns were all preserved largely because of the oral tradition. Whereas, on the other hand, this was probably the time where the written language has probably emerged in the previous few decades or maybe a century or so. And so here was Parashara Muni going up and down, sailing down the river to go and tell, apparently, those of you who know, in the excavations, they estimate that there were more than 2,300 settlements along the Saraswati River. Okay. So all of this Vedic civilization. So he used to go up and down to standardize everything over there. Now, Vyasa used to see what his father was doing. And according to Munshi, probably that was his inspiration. And what he did was, as he grew up, his idea was to unify everybody and bring in standards. And unlike Parashara Muni, in the case of Vyasa, Vyasa's birth mother ended up becoming the queen of Hastinapur. And those of you who know from Mahabharata, the birth of Dhritarashtra and Pandu and of course Vidur, all three of them were actually biological children of Vyasa. And so the thing is, basically the queen mother had asked him to do that because they didn't have an heir to the throne there in the kingdom of Hastinapur. So he had at the same time a connection into the kingdom of Hastinapur. And so it's my thinking that perhaps because of that association with the prosperous kingdom, he probably also had unlimited research resources, funding. And so it looks like Vyasa was able to engage in collecting all the spiritual hymns that were there all over India. And that is how he compiled the Vedas, having the written language having emerged. And of course, there are some, evidences to show how this assimilation might have happened, because those of you who understand all these ancient writings in Sanskrit, you will begin to find they are all concatenated literature. And in concatenated words happen when you write it like shorthand, in the sense you are only focused on the sound. You don't know what the meaning is. You figure that out later. And so what it looks like there were a lot of scribes who were writing it down, and that's how you got the concatenated words of all the Vedic hymns. And later on, after that, they needed to find the grammar and how to break the words open and understand it. And so that is how the Sanskrit language and how all of these came together look like. And then since Vyasa was looking for unity in diversity, the philosophy of Vedanta that he gives in the Brahma Sutras is completely equivalent to the Yoga Sutras. And to make sure that there is no confusion about it, the Vyasa wrote only one commentary of any kind on any document, and that was on the Yoga Sutras. There are no other commentaries by Vyasa on anyone, and that establishes the parity. So by being able to look at the Yoga Sutras as purely the system of spiritual existence, there can be no conflict in the core spiritual understanding, whoever is seeking spirituality, wherever it may be. And since every religion has a focus on spirituality, the core content of spirituality, there can be no difference.
Thank you so much. Very, very detailed answer. Thank you.
You're very welcome.
Truly enlightened here. Thank you.
I have a quick question. The mention of Brahma as the creator, whereas in the Yoga Sutras we always say the Prakriti for the creation. So are they equivalent?
So first and foremost, thank you for coming up with this question, Subramaniamji. The Brahma, actually Brahma, Vishnu, Rudra, all these are the lords we speak about, who came from the Prajapati, the universe. The creator, what we speak is Brahma, the creator. So Brahma means is Prajapati, he is the creator, he is the knowledge of all the universe. So Brahma, what we speak is different from Brahma. So therefore, we call it in Sanskrit as Brahma, the creator. So Prajapati, there are different words interchanged, connected for a creator. So therefore, it's one and the same. Prakriti, again. So Prakriti is matter, which comes out of Purusha, so which is Rai in Veda. And we call it as Purusha, the universe, the whole so that's why we say, we also mentioned about the Adi Shankaracharya, the great three legends, the Dvaitam philosophy, Advaitam philosophy. So all these speaks, the Adi Shankara speaks of the Advaita philosophy. everybody is one. One is one soul of the universe. So Purusha, Prakriti, everything is one. But what we say, it's seen from here, is from the creator, everything is born. In even the Prashna Upanishad, from the creator, everything is born, Prajapati, and from there, everything goes back to him. Okay. So what Vishishta Advaita says is, which Sri Ramanuja speaks about it, from the Lord, everything has been created, and again, from he gets it from the back. So they all one. You are from my soul. You are all the creation of my soul. So which means you and me are different, but we are all same. That's Dvaitam. But in Adi Shankaracharya, he says, you and me both are one. You and me both are one. That is Sri Adi Shankaracharya's philosophy. Therefore, there is a little variations in the literature of said, but every philosophical commentary speaks about the Prajapati, the universe, the Brahma are all same. Prakriti. So it's only the mention in the literature where they denote the different names for creator.
Yeah, that is called beating around the bush. So let me explain to you, Kumar. The thing is basically the concept of Prakriti we say in yoga. Ishvara is different from Prakriti. Prakriti comes out.
Yes.
Prakriti in many languages are also called the Divine Mother, Durga, Parashakti, whatever name you want to call it. And under Durga or Parashakti, you have Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva, or you can call it as Rudra, as three of them as different functionaries or as spirits. So when people go and worship Brahma, Vishnu, or Rudra Shiva, they are not worshipping Ishvara. In the Vaishnava tradition, the concept of Ishvara is called Narayana or Ananta Padmanabha. In the Shaiva tradition, the Ishvara is called Sadashiva or Parashiva, not plain Shiva. In the so this is the distinction between the concept of Brahma as the creator, right?
Yes.
Any other questions?
Dr. Rajan, I have a personal question
Yes.
with me. That cataract is starting. What can be done to slow it down or reverse it?
See, again and again, I have to rely on what we know from real evidence we have seen. We cannot rely on people making statements. Okay? So the thing is, two things I will suggest. One thing is, there are a cataract surgery is not considered a very intrusive surgery. So to replace the lens in the eyes and take care of it, it usually works out well. My mother recently had it. And as you know, my mother is 93 years old, to be 94 in another month. So in the meantime, the other there are references to people who say from the Ayurvedic side that some concoction, apparently Swami Ramdev has some concoction that's a mixture of honey and lime juice or lemon juice or something, which if it is put as drop in the eye or something, it helps with the cataract. But I cannot validate or verify for you whether it works or not. So Neeta Shah is nodding her head. Do you have experience? So please unmute yourself and speak up.
Yes, I tried it because somebody said to me that way cataract is not coming or aging process. So I tried it, but nope, didn't help. I had when I was 63 years old. So
I see. But anyway, so again to say this,
no.
We need to validate everything. Unless we validate, we cannot assume that to be the truth. Okay. And there is one other thing is, we have the new instrument, the Metatron. And the Metatron may have capabilities that we haven't fully figured out. Ashokji, Dr. Ashok Agrawala, do you think there is anything over there related to cataract?
I have not seen anything related to cataract, but it does have very detailed analysis of eyes, the lens of the eye, as well as of the nerves and other things of the eye.
The
So
crystalline
maybe,
lungs, crystalline lens of the eyes too, right?
right, it does. So we'd have to
So
see if we can correlate that with the cataract.
we have to do some testing. We don't know the answer. So Satyapalji, no specific, definitive answer for you, other
Yeah,
than
I was
the
reading
research.
the biochemic book, and this natrium mure can dissolve this cataract when it is starting. A
Well,
natrium mure is simply salt.
you
And
see, what I will
do
suggest is
whatever
you
they
try
do
it, and if it works, let us know.
that they somehow manufacture it by taking a little bit of salt and then adding some other things in there and then reducing it all the way until the actual salt is about 1/6 million, something like that, in a tablet. And I don't know whether that is correct or not. I'll go to try that and see what happens.
Sure, and let us know how it works. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you.
So Hemaji, you have a thought to share? Go ahead.
Okay, my first thing I wanted to notify everybody is that I work for hospital, and one of the doctor was sitting next to me. Came to treat a patient. While talking to him, I found out that he wrote a book on vitamin D. So I was not very, I said, vitamin D, that book on vitamin D is like a lot of information has to be there. I said, can you just tell me one thing, just summary of it, that what is the last thing you can tell somebody that do this? He said, 15 minutes a day, sun, is enough for you to get the vitamin D you need for the entire day, and it stores in your body too. So he said that you just take 15 minutes of sun, but I wanted to know that 15 minutes of sun is what time of the day? Because people say that, like my friends here call me for walk, like around 2 o'clock, they're free. They, hey, Hema, let's go for a walk. I said, I don't know, but somewhere I read that the sun is only best in the morning, like around, I think 10 or 11 o'clock. And after that, that sun is harmful to you. Can you tell us something about it? Whoever knows about this question, what time is a good time to absorb that sun?
So go ahead, anybody.
Can I suggest one thing?
Yeah.
In India, 8 to 9 o'clock sun is good, and here is 11 to 12, 10 to 12. Then I heard that and I read that after this, sun is, when we are taking sun, we are going lots of time in the sun, it create cancer. I just read it in the book.
Yeah,
that's all.
it has to be in the book somewhere, in the doctor's book, but I forgot to ask that question at that time. But I thought maybe somebody. Then other question is.
No, 1 second. Your question is not answered.
Yeah, I want to know.
Anybody else wants to say anything on that?
But I thought all this discussion was based on the internal sun and not the external sun.
I understand, but people asked a question about external sun, so we should answer that too, right?
Yeah, not like Mr. Ravi Shankar talked about sun, that he goes for a walk and all and gets that sun. That's where I came up with this question that, okay, what time will be the best time to get that sun?
We don't. Somebody want? Go ahead, Dr. Urmila.
Okay, thank you. See, basically, our skin is so sensitive, and we need to have energize warm our body. So essentially, because of sun rays is what our hormone secretes and functions, and for different organs of the body. So ideally, we can even relate like what we call as Brahma creator. I was just thinking, he's one person and creating his energy is created to different organs of the body. Like if you come to heart, so the function of the heart is done. If you come to intestine, the Jadaragni secretion is happening and excretory. So all the pancha pranas, okay, and upapranas, all that is activated only with the help of sun. And that energy should be light to our body so that it dilate our blood vessels to energize it. to help in blood circulation. So more energy you take, you take off a steam water. You just go with the steam. You have your whichever to your body temperature, it will be acceptable. If it is beyond your body temperature that you're not able to withstand, what you do for even hot water, you'll not be able to even sip a cup of coffee. So it should be resistant to our body temperature. So ideally speaking, it should be between the time the sunrise timing, as you rightly mentioned, before 10 o'clock at least. That's why the newborn babies are always kept. In Tamil we call it ilaveil.
Yeah.
The sun should be little warmth it should be warm, not very hot, because nowadays there is ozone depletion and all the UV rays pass to our body, and it also gives only our deoxidization. So fully our body becomes so much of stress. Even because the 12 o'clock noon sun is very harmful for our eyes, and there is a the mudra by which you can only see Vyoma mudra, by which only you can see through that rays, because it doesn't affect our sun. So that way the sun has been exposed before and after, before and after eating food also, because high radiation, whatever it could be, take it in the form of sun, we are saying, but a high radiation emission is very harmful for our skin. Therefore, an evening time, again, during the sunset time, before 4, 5, 6, something like that, before sunset, that is really good. So that whatever you can bear for your skin. That is that is the limitation, toleration. So each person, the toleration may vary, but I'm talking the timings, between these timings.
So sunrise to 10 is the best time.
Hotness.
See, what it is what Dr. Urmila shared, morning sun and sunset sun, those are the best times, as she said. And this what I have also heard traditionally. But she added one more comment over there. That is, be sensible. If it is 100 degrees early in the morning, like in Arizona, don't go out. So the thing is basically working with sensibility, and what is soothing to you and listening to your inner being will guide you the right way.
Okay. Now, the second question is about eye. Dr. Agarwal also mentioned that from eye, some aspects you can find out, in your Metatron machine. I found out that there are a lot of disease you can find behind the eye when you go for checkup. Doctor check it out, and they like stroke and all kind of stuff. There are some signs you can get it when you go for eye checkup. I wanted to find out, is this Metatron machine has that ability also to find all other disease going in your body too?
Ashokji?
It certainly has the ability to find a large variety of ailments or pathological conditions that may exist in the body. As Dr. Narayan also said, we are still learning more about it, because it is supposedly capable of recognizing a few thousand pathological conditions. And we have only explored the surface by taking a look at the first cut of some of those things. So as we learn more, we'll certainly share that with all of us.
Yeah, because the doctors, when we go for eye checkup, they look very deep inside and like almost like come to my eye, like point here and look in the back. But they never mention anything else except my eye is in good condition. I don't have any problem. I have cataract, whatever. So I was just wondering, are they supposed to be talking about this to the patients or no?
Hemaji, I will answer that question.
Okay.
You see, what happens is, finally, all these medical systems, everything has become a business. And because it has become a business, they are less focused on, the whole aspect of the scientific understanding of health. They are much more interested in, I have to do this and take so much payment. That's all they are worried about. Okay. Now, if you look at people who are very well versed in the science of different parts of the body, if dentists who are will tell you by looking at your teeth, they can tell all about the rest of the health of the body. highly advanced dentists can do that.
Mhm.
Highly advanced dermatologists, by looking at your skin, they can tell you what are all the other conditions happening within you. And so I'm sure there must be those highly experienced, ophthalmologist or whoever can look at the eyes and can know a lot about you. However, I don't think there are too many of them around these days. Would others agree?
Yeah.
Yes, I want to share an incident with my doctor friend. It seems he had a patient who complained of toothache. So he sent him, he said, my friend is a doctor of internal medicine. So he sent him to a dentist. So he went to a dentist, came back and he said, the dentist says everything is fine. He took X-rays, blah, blah, blah. Then he sent him to another, a better dentist or whatever to again have a check. Nothing happened. Then my friend found out that his toothache he sent him to a cardiologist, and his toothache, because my friend remembered reading somewhere that a toothache can come from some occlusion in the heart muscle. So that's what was the problem. So they had to put a stent or something, and then he became okay. No tooth pain after that. So I mean, I was referring to what Dr. Rajan was saying.
Actually, what it is, in everything in nature gives us various signals in so many different ways, whether the horoscopes, position of the stars, or whatever, and including various parts what you observe in the body. But people who have the ability to observe and learn and understand what it means, there are very few people around, I think.
And that's why where our intuition plays a lot. Why Atma Balam is more important is because we understand if there is any discomfort in our body. Regularly we eat some kind of a food. Suddenly we eat so much spicy and fried items. Then we get some symptoms in our body. So we need to realize that before even we go to the longest way of self-realization. Small realizations will enable our own sense. Nobody can be a master of our own body. And based on our diagnosis, only doctor prescribes some medicines. Therefore, each one is a medical doctor. So to come to that level of analytical ability and understand our own bodily function, we need to have the strength of our Atma to understand the soul, what it wants, what it expects out of this body. So that's the whole, again coming back to the philosophy. So that's the whole idea behind.
We have two more hands raised. Tammy, you want to speak up and ask your question, and we'll have Arun Agarwal also ask his question, then somebody can answer. Go ahead, Tammy.
So it has to do with the intention and invocation. So Dr. Urmila was also on it about when we put intention on our chitta, or like the tooth pain, you could almost say, or a triangle or a puja in medication, do those intentions become invocations like of energy because it doesn't have any desire? It's bereft of desires. So
no, don't use the word invocation.
Okay.
Intention, you have a pain in the tooth and you focus on the tooth and ask mentally what is the source of the pain, and you intuitively get revealed. That is basically a different kind of connection from invocation. When you invoke a different spirit.
What's the one that brings all the energy like that we share? Because, is this a place to talk about that?
Well, energy that you have for you, normal energy comes from your breathing.
Yeah.
Okay. And yogic energy comes from able to absorb the energy from wherever you are. Energy is all over the place. But that energy is a different matter. Unless you have energy, and you won't have life. And if you have life, you have the ability to intend, you have the ability to invoke. If you don't have life, forget about both. Right? Okay. So this thing. So Arunji, go ahead. What is your question?
Namaskar. Few minutes ago you were saying Dr. Rajan, so I wanted to just comment on that these days we don't have very many expertise in doctors that you go for one thing and they can tell you more things. Remember growing up, like Ved will look at your nadi and they can answer so many of your things, but that training or that experience is nowhere to be found pretty much anymore. So
Yes,
I
the thing
remembered
is,
of
you
that
see,
nadi thing.
I agree with what you're saying. And in fact, what it is we are trying to revive it in a different way through a network. We have started on an initiative. Only time will tell whether it will work or not. But what it is this modern day medicine, completely driven by its economic interests, which has also wrapped up the entire legal system within its arms. So by going in that direction, it has actually, created a system where people cannot develop any further over there. So the only thing that can help us to move forward is the current medical system in the world needs to fall and break up, just like the Soviet Union broke up. Because at some point in time, as the knowledge comes, people will realize the current medical system is not something that is meaningful anymore. And at that time, there will be pressure. If people don't want to use it and, they are looking for other answers, at some point it has to break.
Yeah.
I don't know whether it
agree.
will happen in my lifetime or not, but
No.
that's my thought.
Right.
No, I don't think so.
And the other comment I had was after Hemaji's question and how Dr. Urmila answered, that I think there was a lot of wisdom in our mothers and grandmothers growing up, that you can go out in the morning or you can play outside in the evening. And during the day, we were not allowed to go outside because they knew that the sun is going to be harmful for you.
Yeah.
So thank you.
Sanjeev ji, go ahead.
Yeah, I just wanted to share what Dr. Urmila was telling. You know, the more and more in these forums, when we participate and gain more and more knowledge, each one of us should become a healthcare professional. Otherwise, we are going to sick care units called hospitals and clinics. And they call themselves healthcare, which is actually a wrong concept. And we are not alternative. We are the main concepts of how health can be regained and gained. So it's very important. We should use this forum and eminent personalities who can contribute to the knowledge, and each one of us work towards being our own health professional. Otherwise, we don't take care of our health and we go to sick care units and they call themselves healthcare support, So they are all crisis management.
Yes.
So each one of us should take care of our own health, which we have to use this format or personalities here, day-to-day basis, gain the knowledge and make ourselves healthy and fit. That's what I thought I would share.
Excellent. That's a very good thought, but I will caution everybody, be careful in the language you use and how you proceed. Otherwise, the modern medical system has the legal arm behind it. They will not, if they find you threatening, they'll have no hesitation in putting you into jail. Okay, so be very careful how you approach it. Okay, please make sure you always state you're not in the business of diagnosis or recommending anything that will be taken inside the body. Whatever you do is only an assessment to help the person to live a lifestyle like daily walking or those kinds of things. Limit your, the way you say matters. Okay, be very careful.
Yeah.
Yes, this
So,
is
Satyapalji, yes?
Yeah, I have two comments. One about the sun. I read somewhere that the best time to get the energy from sun is 15 minutes after it comes out until 1 hour after that. I don't know how. And also about this toothache. I was reading somewhere, somebody, he had a friend, yogi friend, and he had toothpick. So he asked this yogi, what should I do? He said, you don't have any problem with your teeth. You need to have something done with your heart. And it's very similar to that Dr. Kumar said that. So he went to the cardiologist, and whatever the cardiologist did, his toothaches were gone.
Okay, any other questions? Because it looks like we are going into many directions of question, which is okay. Ravi Shankar, go ahead.
Dr. Radhan, I think many comments were there about timing of the sun. I would tell people here that, who doesn't like the morning sunrise? Is anyone that who doesn't like the morning sunrise? So we should just go by our intuitive self. Yes, it's very soothing, the morning sun.
I mean, it all depends on the geography. I mean, in winter in the north, as the sun is coming up, it's so cold, you're going to be wearing all kinds of jackets. What kind of sun are you going to get? So you got to use our brains and make sure that you get the real sun.
Of course, yeah.
One guidance you can take is observing your own pets basking in the sun. They are the best guides to tell us which is the best for them. And they can, when we see them, we know that they know instinctively this is the best time to be in the sun. So they can be a guides on all these things, I feel, in whichever region you are.
So true. My dog does that every morning, just wants to go out. So sunrise, of course, is the best time. And I feel for me also, personally, when I listen to Aditya Hridaya mantra, and then I do my, prayers to the sun, I feel the energy even more powerful. So just sharing my experience.
Excellent, excellent.
Ideally, I just wanted to connect two things from what. So 1.5 hours, what Sergi was talking, it's also scientifically, one is about the astro science. It speaks about, based on which horoscope, the first house, 7th house, 10th house, and all that. And one more thing, I mean, when the sun's energy should be passed on, but scientifically, as I was mentioning, the hormone level of serotonin, so it helps to calms and soothes the body. So that time when we just receive the sun energy, it's more soothing and we receive more energy as the hormone secretes and as we also receive the sun rays at that particular time. And I was also just remembered of Mahakavi Subramania Bharatiya's காலை எழுந்த உடன் படிப்பு பின்பு கனிவு கொடுக்கும் நல்ல பாட்டு மாலை முழுதும் விளையாட்டு இதை வழக்கப்படுத்திக் கொள்ளு பாப்பா. So he says, every day morning you get up for studies. So that's what Arun Agarwal they were talking about, morning and evening, how they. So I was just immediately recollected about Mahakavi's Bharatiya. So thank you, Ji, for just making me to recollect the song of Bharatiyas. So yes, our literatures also speak and about that morning, evening, all that. So all these gain knowledge and makes a strong belief. So there is no questioning of conflict in our literature because they are all by intuitiveness, received from the energy, from the source of the universe, and they have written it. So they just compiled it what they have heard during their meditation, tapas, strong tapas. So it is not a story, it's not a something commentary like that. Therefore, we believe in that. So researchers, we do just only as a human being, logically we realize only after the research. So everything is given in the literature. Only thing is we are just connecting now for as a human. We have taken this body, so we are understood. We are forgotten about because of our ignorance, and we are trying to unlearn during the path of spirituality. So the entire idea is
we have questions from hands raised by Shobha Krishna. Go ahead, Shobha. Unmute yourself.
Namaste everyone. Thank you very much. I wanted to know what exactly is Brahmi Muhurta and what is its significance.
Any takers? Okay. If nobody wants to answer, Urmila, Dr. Urmila, go ahead.
Okay. So Brahma Muhurta is exactly 1 hour 15 minutes. Like after they say for 45 minutes to 90 minutes, it's before, let's say before sunrise. That's the Brahma Muhurta time ideally. And very helpful because the oxygen, the prana shakti, when we say oxygen, it's in the breathing form, but the prana shakti, which the entire universe is required, And that is the ideal time to do any sankalpa. Why Brahma Muhurta time is very important? Because whatever you take a sankalpa, they say a mandala is like 47, 48 days. Some time they say 41 days also. Therefore, in one mandala, you keep doing the same activity. You believe it or not, you will see the result. You will see the result. But you have to wake up in Brahma Muhurta, lit the lamp, do your sankalpa, meditate for some time, and then you start your daily activity. You will see a lot of change. So Brahma Muhurta is basically the energy directly from the cosmic, and that is more powerful than during the daytime. So each time the secretions of the body is different. So that time the oxygen, the respiratory system functions a lot, and lot of ideas, the out of box thinking, creativity is born during the Brahma Muhurta time. So Brahma Muhurta means the time which gives you auspicious. So the auspicious time, actually, that's why you do the housewarming function, you do a marriage ceremony, whatever you do auspicious, they say you do it in Brahma Muhurta time.
So as you can understand, Brahmayati means to create. Muhurta is the time. So it's really basically the time that is the formation period of the day. So that's how you should understand it. Now, obviously, in a lot of our tradition about that early morning hours and all of that has been mentioned. And as Dr. Urmila mentioned about this concept of that's the best time to make a sankalpa or an intention. Now, another way to look at it is, I often tell people that the best kind of lifestyle you can have is wake up early enough so that the first 3 hours of the day, you don't have to worry about what is coming next in the day. So the first 3 hours of the day, if you're going to work at a certain time, wake up at least 3 hours before that, so that you can enjoy the quietness in the day, the inner observation, the meditation. And in that, Stomaji actually wrote a piece in our book on the concept of this comes from Swami Ved Bharati, the concept of the pure sankalpa. The concept of the pure sankalpa is the idea that what our swadharma is supposed to be, that manifests internally within us, not like we want to do. We realize this is what the cosmos wants us to do in order to unfold our swadharma. So that quietness in the beginning of the day is very, very helpful. Now, while I understand from a traditional perspective, much has been said about how many hours before sunrise and things like that, I'm not quite sure how much it matters, but there is some validity to it. You see, by nature, we are supposed to wake up with the sun and go to sleep with the sunset, right? So there are people, as you know, who go to sleep at 3 in the morning and wake up at 10 in the morning, right? And so you can find when people continue doing this for a period of time, their health can often fall apart. But there are some people who seem to continue going that way, but they get enough sleep and they work it out whatever in their own way. So I cannot give you a firm answer, but the one answer I can give is the quietness in the day where you can introspect within yourself and find the purpose of your life. That is a very, very valuable thing. And of course, the concept of Brahma Muhurta, the formation of the day, whether it is defined in terms of sunrise or defined in terms of how your inner sun responds to you, that may be a point of interesting discussion. So Arun ji, go ahead, Arun Agarwal.
Thanks for the discussions, and I thought I would make some comments on coming back to D, vitamin D. Scientifically, it has been proved that yes, sun rays, when exposed, our skin exposed to sun rays, forms vitamin D in our body. But then there are certain requirements. For example, North American people who are white people, they do not have the enzymes in their body and pigments who can collect the sun rays and form the vitamin D. But even in our own body, who are, like Indians, who have the pigments to collect sun rays and form the vitamin D, our skin has to be exposed. Just exposing the face alone would not give you the enough vitamin D, firstly. So that's very important. And I know when I was growing the children as a child, on the weekends, Sundays, we were out on the roof massaging the oil, and then exposing ourselves to sun for almost hour and 2 hours. That perhaps was good enough. The second is whether exposed in the morning or in the afternoon. Of course, afternoon sun, there are sun rays coming straight. So the intensity of the sun rays, for example, UV rays are so strong that definitely, gives the cancer, skin cancer. It's very well known, if you expose yourself to. That's why they recommend all kinds of lotions and other things, So that was my comments, that sun definitely is good in the morning, but just exposing the face would not give us enough vitamin D. So thank you, give the opportunity.
Thank you. Avni, you want to say something? Go ahead.
Yes, I do. I was just saying that I think our chakras are also our inner sun. And each of these have connection to our physical as well as our spiritual dimensions. And they regulate the flow of energy in our body, connected to different physical, emotional aspects and functions. So it connect when these are stronger, our connection to the universal energy is also stronger, and especially our Atma chakra or our Sakshi Purush, as they say. So the purer and brighter it is, brighter our inner sun, I think.
This is a very interesting concept. Actually, in the Aruna Prashna, which comes actually in the Taittiriya Aranyaka, in the Aruna Prashna, the concept of the 8 suns and the hidden sun called Kashyapa, which we call as the Atma Chakra, is mentioned. And the 7 suns which are referred to, they often refer to the 7 rays of the 7 rays and light of the sun. It's very interesting that you do find that correlation of the light with the chakras, right? So it is very interesting thought. Anyway.
Especially the Atma Chakra, I feel, the purer we make it with our practice of yoga meditation, the brighter it shines. So,
any other comments, questions?
Dr. Rajan.
Yes.
Just hold on. I want to share my experience. It's I had about 6 years ago.
Satipalji, there's an echo. Okay, yeah, no, go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. Is it okay?
Yeah, you had 2 connections on. I muted one.
Okay, yes. And I had experience in about 6 years ago. I had growth on the first knuckle of my left forefinger. I went to a surgeon and he said he had to make a cut 2 ways and then remove part of the bone there, and that will take about 10 days to heal. So I came back and I learned that when you wake up in the morning, the saliva has concentration of white blood cells. And so what I did was, I just, as I woke up, before getting out of that or doing anything else, I'll take some of the saliva, put it on that growth, and within 4, 5, or maybe 6 months, it was all gone.
Very interesting.
Yes, there is a immunity power. There is a research also done how our B cells act upon our saliva with the help of meditation, and that energy acts on our saliva. So there itself we can eradicate all the diseases. So there was a research article too which I read afterwards. Satyapal sir was talking about this. So yes, how our immune system energizes, and that has been energized with the help of meditation. And that meditation helps with energizing our saliva before
Was that,
and after study.
if you have the reference, please send it to us.
Sure, I'll do that. I'll do that. Yes. In one of my presentation, I have come across that. Definitely, I'll send you that link. Sure.
Thank you. Any other questions or any comments from anyone? Go ahead, Dr. Sadhna Samant.
Thank you, Rajanji. Thank you for interesting session, extremely knowledgeable, and thank you everyone for that. I just want to add comment that I just came across one recent article in PubMed about the optimal vitamin to get optimal vitamin D supplement from the sun at minimal risk of getting cancer of the malignant melanoma. The best time of the sun is noon. This is the article I'm coming across. So kind of all the traditional thinking that we should not get exposed to the sun at noon time, but this article says that that could be wrong. All this thinking of so many people, so means all the scientists and everything may be wrong. And to reduce the incidence of malignant melanoma due to the exposure to the sun could be less if you get minimal time of, means 15 minutes of exposure to the noon sun rather than getting more exposure to the sun on other times, where we think that because of there is something to do with the scattering and unscattering of the rays of the sun. And that article I will study much more, and I will come in future if I get concrete answer by other supporting views from other articles that this is the correct thing. So we don't know, because all these years we are thinking, as everybody thinks, early exposure will be better than the noon exposure. So this article it is kind of recent article in 2018. So I'm not sure what is real thing, when to get the exposure to the sun. I think we have to study more, or we have to research more on that.
It may be depend on continental weather studies and different aspects of it. So maybe, yeah, we need to investigate more. Actually, whatever being said in the literature or Vedic in general, I do follow the literature what is, because that is the religious, that is the Bible for every one of us, what is given in the literature. So ideally what is given in the research maybe for something else, as Nam mentioned. So probably we need to think of it or contribute in a different way.
The reason they are telling that is one, the action spectrum for the malignant melanoma, that is CMM, is likely to be centered at the longer wavelengths, that is ultraviolet wavelengths 320 to 400, than that of the vitamin D generation, that is we need 280 to 320 nanomillimeters. So scattering of solar radiation on clear days is caused by small scattering elements, and that increases with the decreasing wavelengths. A larger fraction of ultraviolet rays than on UVB, ultraviolet UVA than of UVB comes directly and unscattered from the sun, that is during the noon. The human body can be more realistically represented by a vertical cylinder than by a horizontal planar surface, as done in almost all calculations in the literature. With the cylinder model, high UVA fluence rates last about twice as long after noon as high UVB fluence rates do. In view of this, short non-arrhythmic thermogenic exposure around noon should be recommended rather than longer non-arrhythmogenic exposures in the afternoon. This would be give a maximal yield of vitamin D at a minimal CMM risk. That's the article conclusion says. So
I am
I need
persuaded to think that we should all like to find our inner sun and develop the vitamin D within us instead of looking for it externally.
I totally agree. Thank you. But I would search about this because this is also kind of totally first time I'm reading this. Otherwise, I never had this kind of article come across. So I will
This
check more
The
that
history.
scientifically what is
No.
physical
The
outside sun, how it works.
No. The history of research is one day they will say coffee is bad, next day they will say it is good. One day they will say wine is good, the next day they will say it is bad, and then they will keep changing the story. And depending upon who funds the research, there may be other elements that go along with it. But anyway, so we can't take these things seriously. So Amit Gupta, you wanted to say something?
Yeah, like you don't have to answer it. This is not related with the topic. Like I was wondering, like, do you have any trick to lose weight? Because I feel like eating all the time. I am working from home and I go down and grab some food and then come back and attend meeting, and then again I go down and have lunch. And
Do you have problem with weight?
I am not too much overweight, but yeah, maybe like 10 pounds.
Okay. This is my suggestion for you. You see, what happens is invoke your yogic nature. Every day you are by doing some practice of yoga morning and evening. If you keep in the yogic nature and if you are feeling hungry, you eat, you will not put on weight. So don't worry about weight now. Just concentrate on your yogic nature. It will take care of itself. When you feel hungry, by all means eat. But when you look at the food, don't eat just because the food is there. Just reflect whether it's right for you or not. If it's right for you, eat. Otherwise, don't eat.
Let me add
I would like to.
From the literature. There are two literatures on behavioral approaches to weight loss. There's the weight loss literature, which is very pessimistic. It suggests that weight loss of more than 10 kilos is not possible to sustain over time. And that's a pretty robust result. On the other hand, the literature on mindful eating shows that you can go beyond 10 kilos if you eat your food mindfully. Because what happens in that process is that when you really taste your food, when you are eating with the middle prefrontal cortex of your brain stimulated, what you are experiencing there is the beauty of the food rather than the satisfaction of the hunger. And that's a really important distinction, because that enjoyment through concentration is the nature of tapas. Tapas is not about self-denial. Tapas is about how mindfully do you act in the world. And so that's why I think the mindful eating line of research is much more effective than just looking at weight loss as a matter of intake and output and calories and the rest of it.
Yes. Thank you.
I would like to add a few more points. So as Thomas Sir Ajay was telling, mindfulness, when it speaks about that, you should satisfy your soul by eating. So you should have, the 6 aharas, the 6 type of taste in Ayurveda, what is said, right? The all types of food, what you eat, it should be eaten with love, with I like it, I love it. So that's one act of eating it. The second one, if we have hormone imbalance, especially the metabolic activities and thyroid, if it is so, then we start to have food, easily digestible and try to eat a lot more. So we need to check our hormonal test once at least, so to see if it is in proper. That is one thing. the thyroxine, the thyroid gland, how it properly functions or not. Second. And the third is like if you're overstressed, the binge eating happens, whatever. So we are like eat whatever we wanted to. And we also, as Narayananji said, like we always think on food. The next time happens to be eat on food. So we immediately, our nature calls to eat the next, what is the next meal? If immediately we have some good aroma, we tend to feel to eat. So all this, therefore, this subject is actually connected to our sun because of a circadian rhythm. So when we are in the sun, it's about the circadian rhythm, which functions our hormonal system. Therefore, when the sun rays passes and we are apt to the nature biological clock, the eating habit and secretion of enzymes in our stomach will be apt according to the sun rays, what is happening within us, the inner sun. Therefore, with these points, if you could take it and check your health system once. If it is everything normal, then no need to worry. But it is always good to also test it and have it for us, our own safety. And eating by fingers, that is even most important. There is one thing we have to eat in Sukhasana. Sit in Sukhasana. Most of us, now everything is forgotten, our ancient culture. And put the banana leaf where it gives more oxygen. Put a hot, full of rice, because hotness mixed with the green provide more oxygen to our bodily thing. And that if you eat in Sukhasana, we know how much quantity, the moderate mitahara, how much quantity, the moderate quantity of food we have to eat. Therefore, that also helps to eat a limited quantity and makes the function digestion properly.
And it also depends upon how you cook your rice.
Yes, absolutely.
How do you cook your rice?
We have electric cooker.
No, I'm not asking Amit Gupta. I'm asking Dr. Urmila.
Okay. We generally, everyone cooks by pressure cooker, right? But normally the mind, how it's connected by cooking is more even important on preparation part of the food. The stale food, if you reheat and eat, and the processed food, if you keep eating, these are all the modern lifestyle. We have to come out of it. The cooked food should be consumed within 3 hours of time. That's more essential. No reheating, no overheating, no oven machine, anything.
I simply asked the question, how do you cook your rice? Yeah. Okay. So now let's get back. So the reason I asked is, you see, in the tradition of cooking rice, the way it is done is you put a pot of boiling water. And after you have a pot of boiling water, you put the rice, once it boils, that's when you put the rice within it. And then it cooks for whatever, 20 minutes, half an hour or whatever. And finally, what you do is you strain out the water and you eat the rice. Okay? And normally the water is given either to cattle or for whatever this thing, but that is not consumed on a regular basis. The thing is, you see, from a yogic perspective, while of course from a modern view of the vitamins in the rice and things like that, they say don't throw away the water. However, from a yogic perspective, that water in which the rice has cooked is more tamas. And that is why if you take the water out, then in which case it is much more healthier and lighter for you, more sattvic for you. This is what is my sense. Any comments on that, Sanjeevji?
No, it's fine what you said, but sometimes, I love this rice water. It's with a little salt.
I know. That is different. That kanji is also good.
Kanji is very
that is very healthy. In fact, the porridge, they say.
Yes,
No, but it's a lot of tamas.
I think throwing the water away, probably glycemic index also goes down.
Uh-huh.
So maybe it's healthier that way because
in a traditional way, it is considered tamas.
Yes, mothers, grandmothers all cook that way. Yeah.
Rajanji, what about cooking in which water gets absorbed in the rice itself, so nothing to be thrown?
That is the problem. The thing is, basically, you retain all of the tamas in there. And that's why when you eat rice, you feel heavy.
What about eating rice itself? Nowadays, people are saying like, don't eat rice at all. I mean, any comments on that?
Why don't you try that too? Eat rice that where you throw away the water, and eat rice where you don't throw away the water, and see the difference.
That's how I cook, actually. The way you said, that's how I cook. But still, people are saying don't eat rice at all. Just,
See, people have ways of saying so many things. The key part is only your body can understand what is right for you. Okay? And what has happened is, for in our home, we have all been eating rice for the last so many years, including my mother. We have no problem eating rice twice a day too.
Same, I agree, but other people, other family members are influenced by what other people are saying, so they want to stop eating rice, but I don't agree with it. So that's the conflict at home. So
the best thing to do is, after throwing away water and that rice, when first of all put a lot of water and put the rice in there, so there will be water remaining, because rice can only absorb some part of only significant amount of water. What you do is that after eating that rice, after throwing away water rice, you take blood sugar after 2 hours. Maybe check it out. Maybe that may help you to decide or determine whether it is the right way to do. Because 2 hours later, the sugar will spike if it is the rice without or with water.
But this rice has no taste.
That is an interesting point.
Actually,
I
it
agree
depends
with
on the
what you're
quality of
saying.
the rice. Raw rice, polished rice, unpolished rice, all that. So we go for the millets. That now we move on to the traditional way of doing millets, no? Heating the millets kind of food. Therefore, so we have a lot of, for example, we have a lot of products in the market. But which product or many soaps or many face cream that also as a means has been come up. So, but which one is good for you, for your skin, for your body? If someone is attuned to for the eating rice twice, as Narayanji was telling, they are completely they are hale and healthy. There is no problem. But the way they eat, because they are tuned to it. But if you go away from someone is saying, so I have to follow this, suddenly it is not coming up properly. That means your body system, the gene within you is not getting altered. It's already into that process which you have been following certain rules, and you're still hale and healthy. So please continue. So there is nothing called, according to whatever you're made up of, your genes, your forefather gene, your dad gene, all 7 ancestor genes are in our body. So even if you stop eating non-veg, I'm telling you, the non-veg gene which is carried from your father will be there definitely into your gene system. So therefore, you may say I'm a vegetarian, but suddenly how I eat an egg consuming, but I'm not getting anything. I'm hale and healthy. I don't feel like odd. So people say that, but because we are ancestors, everything. So the gene, whatever we have, that's why we say I brought a concept called mind. There's a lot of story when we speak about it, but how we think about it while cooking, it also adds to our own body, whatever, and that's why we pray before eating. The aura gets generated, whatever the food we are into. Even if it is accursed, everything goes away, and the aura. There is a research also being done, and there is an aura formed with the food, and that's called prasadam. That's why we do puja, and then we take that food power intake, so that all the negativity goes away from the food, and so that we are taken into it.
What is the meaning of prasadam?
Asking me the thing.
What is the meaning of the word prasadam?
Food from God.
Offered to God, and that whatever we eat, partake of it, that is consumed has been prasadam. That is energized food, offered with serenity, a sacrifice.
Actually, what it is a sadhan is an instrument that enables you to do. And prasadhan means, prasadhanam means prakrishta sadhana, which means what it is it is supposed to be something that enables you to fulfill your swadharma. So the thing is basically an instrument that is in sync with the cosmic flow. That is the meaning of prasadam. Anyway, so let's, we have heard a lot of this thing for a while now. Are there any closing comments from anyone, and then we can finish? I saw Athanasio had joined us. I hadn't seen you in previous session. Welcome, Athanasio. So Athanasio is a Peruvian who lives in the Washington area and a wonderful person who is dedicated to yoga for many years.
Thank you for the opportunity to speak to the whole group. Yes, I'm practicing yoga almost from 50 years and still practicing and teaching here also in SSBT, Shiva Vishnu Temple.
Yes. Any closing comments from anyone, and then we can end the session? So let's all end with one long Om. Let's take a deep breath in.
Yeah.
So see you all next month. Namaste.
Thank you for everything.